Saturday on this month, the Yashkar Mahar would carry several huge canes basket to the temple of the goddess. The entire village flocked to the temple with varied dishes offering to the goddess fried delicacies, curd rice, bhajis cooked with choice spices and kurwadya. They also offered beautiful piece to Khun and bangles to the goddess. The food offered to the goddess would fill 3 or 4 baskets. People would break coconut before the goddess and broke hells upon would fill couple of more baskets. After sunset, some of the Mahar men would keep folded gadi on their head, place the huge basket filled with the offerings on top floor, and take out all food from basket and arrange it neatly on the gadis. The food would then be divided into small heap and yet another gadi for distribution among Mahar in keeping their status and honor. Meanwhile, some would rush to the Marwada to make a public announcement and come a folk, all you man, children come and take home your share of offering. The announcement would cause such frenzy and even every household 7 or 8 kids would burst out from each house, naked, their nose running. They would sprint madly towards to Chowdi. People flocked to the Chowdi in incessant drizzle, fully drenched, covered with mud. They crowded around the gadis for food, clamoring to collect their share. The entire Chowdi would soon get mud smeared. The Kharbari would divided the food into small portion. According to the share due to each of Mahar, people would literally pounce upon their share. Children jumped up and down to snatch food from their parents' hand. Half of the food would get over on the way, and the remaining food did not last for a long either. However, without saying a single word or with their eyes glued to the food, the poor hungry daughter-in-laws would helplessly wait for their turn. Now this reference of daughter-in-law is again coming, and wherever the reference of daughter-in-law is there, you will always find that the word poor daughter-in-law is always referred there. Okay, so you just remember this daughter-in-law reference. Just in case a Sasu notice this, Sasu means mother-in-law. She would contemptuously throw a morsel at her daughter-in-law, saying, push that you down your throat, you shameless hussy. Aren't you ashamed to stare at the child who's eating? At last let the food get down his throat. Your evil eyes will make the child choke. Don't you know how to behave like a good daughter-in-law? So this concept of good and bad daughter-in-law is consistently running this. So you just see how this daughter-in-law is being referred as good and bad daughter-in-law. By the time 3 weeks of Asad was over, Amavasya would be approaching. The heart of the people would be fired and grand expectations. This Amavasya might also was known as the goddess mother, as Reedi Jatra or Buffalo Fair. Reedi Jatra was an extremely important event considered to be gift the Mahar had received directly from Indra, the kings of God. From the moment the first coke crowd, white-haired Mahar, the wise old man of the community, could be seen rushing about hectically. All of a man would get up at the crack of dawn, bathe in stream, gather a lot of wild pink kanhar and carry them to Chowdi, where they were piled neatly at corner. Then the man would run grind sandalwood paste and apply it on their forehead as a holy mark. The woman would have already polished the ground with dung on the previous night. By even young boys would have bathed in the stream. They arrive in the Chowdi looking fresh and clean. Then the elderly Mar would take charge of the affair, distribute the work among them, and send them all off on the different errands. Boys, now go and fetch Dadu's Shri Ranga Guinia, and the buffalo will be very difficult to control and wanna be handle it in by yourself. The boys would immediately set off. They would go from house to house, calling out to people by their names, fetching them the Chowdi. Their elder often pretend to scold young man in mock anger. And come, you bastard, you know that nobody can do this work except you. Now look sharp, string the buffalo through nose, take it the stream, bathe it and bring it. In the meantime, send a word of Ranba, Yesha's daughter-in-law will be our Suhasini today. Ask her to put kumkum on the buffalo. So this reference of daughter-in-law is again there, and this, please you notice this. Okay. Then one of them would turn to the woman, and you there, Sita Vahini, Konda Kaku and Kuna Kaku. Take these grains of jowar and distribute them among the household of Ponding. Take care that the work is well done. Otherwise, mind you, we will hang onion in your hair. Guna Yakaku and Konda Yakaku, these red chilies, and grind them fine. The panji must be good. Remember, you are not like sluts on the street, so don't cook like them. The panji must taste good. It must become like laki, soft and properly mixed. Relatives and the guests will come from all nooks and corners of the fair to take care the food is cooked well. And a woman pulling her pallav over her head to show that they were decent housewives and not like some woman on the street would say in reverence, "Oh Kharbari, we do belong to respectable families. We know how these things are done. Do not worry, leave it to us. We will cook the barbata so well that our guests would never have tasted anything so delicious in their whole lives." And the woman would bathe, put red kumkum marks on the forehead with line of haldi below, being the sacred work. They would beat the jowar grains and grind the red chilies on the fine powder. Everything would be kept ready. In meantime, young man would have got buffalo back from the stream, its back glistening the sun. They would string the rope through the buffalo's nose and tie it to the iron railing at the chowdi. Someone would massage the buffalo with oil. Someone would also paint it on red, and yet another would stick lemon on the sharp end of the horn. Then the Mang Suhasini, specially invited the occasion, would smear the buffalo's forehead with red kumkum, wish it fit and whatever worship, and finally feed it with propound chok jawar grains. The man would put garland of kanhar flowers around buffalo. Meanwhile, one of the Mang Suhasin would ask holy bath and had to wear green sari and a green blouse. They would rub haldi all over the body and smear her forehead with kumkum and place a coconut on the same grain in her pallav. The coconut would be broken during the ritual. Suhasini was made to carry a jawar of water with the coconut placed above on her head. By 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the buffalo would become fully intoxicated. The chief of the village would then give the Mang Suhasini a new sari and piece of kumkum. By now, the preparations for the fair would be nearly over. Then one of the men from the Mang community would be asked to publicly announce that the buffalo fair was about to begin. Listen, honorable folks, listen. We would shout at the top of the voice. The party will give order to start the buffalo fair. So the buffalo will now be paraded through the village. Everybody should remain inside their home and keep their doors bolted while procession is going on. The whole village would disappear indoor and stay behind doors. Not even a stray mongrel could be spotted anywhere. The entire place acquired a desert look. With this, the preparation for the fair would be completed. One man carried a clay pot containing ambil and guguria. Another held leaf neem twig, and yet another followed with a pot of gomutra. The Mang Suhasini swayed in her green sari and green blouse and garland of kanhar flowers around her neck, her untied hair falling loose over her back. The patil wore the traditional brocade turban and carried a sword in his hand. The people from the village accompanied the patil. Once everyone had gathered, 2 more ropes would be stung through the buffalo's nose with their ends hanging out on each side. Then the procession would begin, and the patil, accompanied by the other man from the village, leading in front, followed by the Mang Suhasini and couple of men holding her on both sides. The entire Mark community followed behind the buffalo fair, and this procession would be called March silently in the hot sun. By now, the Mang Suhasini would be processed by the goddess. She would sway from the side to side, mourning and twisting her body as if in the trance. It required at the last 4 men to control her. Buffalo would be completely intoxicated. Its eye would acquire the color of blood. The patil would already have made cuts on its thighs from the blood oozing. With a kumkum smeared forehead, Kanhar flowers hanging around his neck and the wounded, bleeding thighs. Even its eye seems to ooze blood. Without any band playing or any kind of fanfare, the buffalo would be slightly paraded through the village. The procession then arrived at the temple and halted in the country yard. At this point, the entire village flocked to watch the buffalo sacrifice. The patil would lift a sword and bring it down with brute force, severing the buffalo head from its body in a single blow. The buffalo would collapse on the ground, and with the huge thud, blood would spurt out and sword and dip with the blood. Then the patil whipped the little blood from the blade and sword of the finger and touched the forehead of the goddess to make a mark with blood. Then they touched his own forehead with the same finger and made a mark there as well. And another young buffalo would be brought forward to have haldi rubber over preparation for rite and sacrifice the next year. After this ritual, people from other communities in the village would depart in a hurry, leaving only the Mahars on the scene. Then the Mahar loudly hailed the goddess and made preparations to skin the buffalo with knives and axe sharpened at the edge. They first skin the buffalo and then separate each limb from the body, cut off its 4 hooves and place them in mouth of the severed head. The head was the place in front of the goddess, and lamp made the wheat flour burning on the top. The protruding, bulging eyes, the long red tongue hanging out of the mouth, the bare teeth, 4 hooves jutting out from the mouth of the buffalo lying at the feet of the goddess, and the red light in the temple was a sight that was the goddess, a huge bass masked with large protruding eyes and the long nose, huge nose ring hanging and wrapped in sari. The fierce looking goddess and burning lamp with its flickering surrounded darkness in the temple. The entire scene used to be so terrifying that the onlookers would be literally petrified. Once the buffalo was completely skinned and its limbs removed, the remaining flesh would be cut into large pieces, each weighing around half a sheet. These pieces would be placed in huge pot every day. If you find large piece of meat in your meal, they say such big piece, they are from buffalo fair, and liver of the buffalo would be as large as cane basket used for shifting corn, and its heart as big as huge pitcher. The organ which looked like a bunch of grass was called boka. These 3 organs, the liver, heart and the boka, were not cut. The Mang would already have prepared a special rope 3 feet long and quite thick, specially for this occasion. The 3 organs tied together in bunch at the end of the rope were cooked in a huge pot. The other end of the rope was slightly wound around the mouth of the pot. After the uncut organ were cooked, the rope would be unwound and meat taken out. Meanwhile, women prepared the nivad, which included roti made of wheat flour without oil. The rotis were then staked in neat pile, and the 3 cooked organs will be placed on the top. The nivad was then brought to the temple as an offering to the goddess. Later it would be brought to the chowdi and cut into small pieces and distributed among the Mahar as the bless of the gods. Even young children would first touch the sacrifice food on their forehead as a mark of the reverence, and only then would try to put it in their mouth. By this time, huge stone chulhas would be ignited with a pot kept atop and huge flames licking By this time, huge stone chulas would be ignited with the pots kept atop and huge flames licking them. One of the pot contained beaten grains of jowar. After the meat had been cooked till it was tender, some red chili powder prepared and would be added. Jars of water would be slowly poured into the pot. The panji was now ready. If it turned out to be very tasty, it would be qualifying as lucky. After the chili powder was added, all meat pieces were taken out and kept in a huge basket. On the hot soup would remain in the pot. Then the pot was filled with the red chili powder and brought to the boil. Now it was time to serve the food. The guts would be served first. They would be lovingly served, repeated helpings. Only after the guts had their fill, there would their host sit and they eat. Children would be extremely impatient to eat. Each child carried the aluminium bowl and plate. Each received a plate full of panji with a couple of meat pieces and handful of cooked grains. Some men would polish of 6 to 7 plates and yet ask for more. Such heavy eaters they are. The meat was distributed among the 25 horse houses in the Maharwada and Mangwada, and thus entire buffalo would be finished into no time. Bursting at the stream with meat and men would place till memoirs of the buffalo fair would help them survive their miserable and wretched lives. They would live in their dirt pits on the periphery of the village, like discharged rags ignored by society, and wait for the buffalo fair to come again the following year. Meanwhile, there would be work to do. The elders would arrive at the chowdi next morning, the young and the very old would follow them. The portraits would come dressed in their ritual finery and decked in the traditional ornaments. The players arrived with their instrument. The woman who dispensed medicines and would cure illness cursed by the evil spirit would now play a very important role. Only these women knew which ritual would be performed to appear as goddess. Nothing should be wrong, otherwise they might invite the wrath of the goddess upon themselves. In the lifting tune of Shehnai and amidst the rhythmic beat of the drum and dimdi, men and women would let themselves go. The Raja would start the dance and the women, our young girls, joined the dance, their hair flying wild. The accompanied would be tied and the godling and would allow prayers to stop dancing non-stop. They would single them or continue to play music. If someone did not listen, they would impel and fierce. While dancing, they would be possessed by the spirit. Then each dancing goddess would predict, I have crossed the water. The 7 others would meet. They would declare an answer and depart from destroying. The speech would be punctured with those terrible humming sound. Then they would continue. My children, there is a monster. No rain are this year. No crop will grow. All animals will die. The mother will know the child. No only child is its mother. Yet my children, I help you. But give me my due in the time and keep my followers ghost hungry and dissatisfied. Take of the any command. So this is how the chapter 3 is talking about the buffalo sacrifice, and this how this several festivals they are celebrating. We never rebelled against you, did we? But we did not perform namaz when you worshipped, did we? They consider cow holy. We never insult her, did we? Obey every diktat of your Hindu religion. We follow all your traditionals. Why do we single out of your contempt? We were people who live in your house and dared to drink drop of water that way. Never dress in cross you bath. We dedicated ourselves to the service of the civilization. We must say that we perceive to you in spite of the fact that it is the entire community had sunk deep in the mire of the dreadful superstition. The upper caste had never allowed the slowly caste to acquire knowledge, religion and serving your feet. So speaking thus, we would take off this turban and place it under her feet to mark her utmost humility. Then everybody was rushed to touch her feet in in supplication. There would swear eternal loyalty to her, beg for her mercy, and throw lemon on our body. Then we would relent and say, "All right, my children, all right, I forgive you, but my entourage of the gods has been put to a lot of trouble. Give them due." And Kharbari would agree immediately, "Yes, yes, mother, we would be humble servant, but we want good moment to you. Oh, mother, if please give us." Mother would say, "All right, Poojo, and spread your hands and collect what I give you. I give you all gold, sprinkle it all gold around your people, leave nothing." And then somebody would bring the ash of ritual. Kharbari declared that she was ready to do. Impulses would become conscious and waken our deep. Meanwhile, the other woman teeth would lock and take yet another. This would end with thousands of this happen.